They admitted they were wrong, and it changed everything. Most businesses don't die because they fail. They die because they refuse to admit they're failing. And sometimes the smartest move you can make isn't pushing harder. It's turning. This is the story of a pivot that looked like surrender from the outside, but became the decision that saved everything. 3 years ago, a startup called Northbound set out to build a premium travel planning app for busy professionals. The founder, Liam, believed that high-performing executives didn't have time to compare flights, hotels, and itineraries. The app would handle everything automatically using intelligent automation. It was sleek, ambitious, polished. Investors liked the pitch. The prototype impressed early testers. The launch day felt electric. Articles were published. Social media buzzed. Downloads spiked in the first month. And then momentum slowed. At first, the team wasn't worried. Early traction is rarely consistent. They improved onboarding. They increased ad spend. They offered discounts for annual plans. Downloads stabilized, but engagement dropped. Users signed up, explored the app, and then quietly disappeared. Liam believed the problem was marketing. "We just need more visibility," he told the team. So they pushed harder. More campaigns, more partnerships, more influencer outreach. Revenue ticked upward slightly, but retention stayed weak. Customer feedback repeated the same theme. The app was impressive but unnecessary. Many users said they still preferred manually choosing flights and accommodations. Others felt overwhelmed by the automation. The product solved a problem people didn't urgently feel. Here's the painful truth in entrepreneurship. Effort does not equal validation. You can work tirelessly on something the market doesn't deeply want. 6 months in, cash reserves began shrinking faster than projected. Burn rate became a daily conversation. The team felt tension rising. Engineers were refining features users barely touched. Designers polished interfaces for workflows people abandoned. One evening, after reviewing retention data alone in the office, Liam saw the pattern clearly. It wasn't a marketing issue. It wasn't a pricing issue. It wasn't even a feature issue. The core assumption was flawed. Busy professionals didn't want full automation. They wanted control with assistance. The realization was uncomfortable. If the assumption was wrong, then the product's entire positioning was wrong. And here's where most founders make their critical mistake. They double down. They convince themselves the market just hasn't caught up yet. They interpret low traction as temporary misunderstanding. They protect the original vision at all costs. Liam almost did the same, but something stopped him. A conversation with a longtime mentor who asked a simple question. If you were starting today, knowing what you know now, would you build the same product? Liam couldn't answer yes. That silence changed everything. The next morning, he gathered the team. No polished presentation, no motivational speech, just data, retention curves, user interviews, financial projections, and one sentence: "We were wrong about the problem." The room went quiet. Then came the harder question. What are users actually asking for? The team revisited every piece of feedback they had collected over months. Pattern emerged. Users didn't want full travel automation. They wanted a smarter way to compare and coordinate group travel for corporate teams, coordinating flights for conferences, managing shared itineraries, tracking reimbursements. The frustration wasn't planning. It was collaboration. Northbound had built a solo automation tool. The opportunity was in team coordination. The pivot wasn't small. It meant redesigning the core product, rewriting the value proposition, changing the target audience, potentially losing early users who liked the original idea. It also meant admitting publicly that the original direction wasn't working. Investors were skeptical. Some employees worried. Pivots sound strategic in hindsight, but in real time they feel like stepping into fog. Liam made a decision. They would freeze new marketing for the existing product. They would allocate 3 months to building a lean prototype for corporate travel coordination. They would test with 5 companies before committing fully. Those 3 months were intense. The team worked with a clarity they hadn't felt before. They weren't polishing. They were validating. They spoke directly to corporate administrators. They observed how teams currently manage travel. They built only what was essential to solve that friction. When the prototype launched with the first test company, something different happened. Usage didn't spike and drop. It sustained. Employees actively coordinated through the platform. Feedback was immediate and specific. Feature requests aligned with core use cases. For the first time, retention curves moved upward instead of downward. Encouraged, Northbound officially repositioned itself as a corporate travel coordination platform. The branding shifted. Messaging changed. The website no longer promised effortless personal travel. Promised seamless team travel management. The market responded differently. Within 6 months, they secured contracts with several mid-sized companies. Revenue became predictable through annual subscriptions instead of individual purchases. Support requests became constructive instead of confused. The product roadmap felt focused. The pivot didn't just save the business financially. It restored morale. The team felt aligned with a real need instead of forcing a concept. Looking back, Liam later admitted that the most difficult part wasn't building the new direction. It was letting go of the old one. Founders attach identity to ideas. Changing direction can feel like admitting incompetence. But refusing to pivot when data demands it isn't confidence. It's denial. There's a powerful distinction here. Failure isn't launching something that doesn't work. Failure is continuing after evidence shows it won't. Pivot is not abandoning your mission. It's adjusting your method. Northbound's mission remained constant. Make travel simpler for professionals. The method evolved from personal automation to team coordination. That evolution made all the difference. Here's what this story teaches. First, measure truth, not hope. Data is not emotional. If engagement and retention consistently decline, no amount of optimism will reverse that without structural change. Second, listen deeply. Feedback is rarely dramatic. It's repetitive. Patterns matter more than isolated comments. Third, detach ego from execution. Your idea is not your identity. Protecting it blindly can destroy what you're trying to build. Fourth, pivot early. The earlier you adapt, the less expensive the correction. Time amplifies mistakes. And finally, clarity beats stubbornness. The market doesn't reward persistence alone. It rewards relevance. Northbound survived because it recognized failure before bankruptcy forced the decision. The pivot wasn't reactive desperation. It was proactive correction. Many entrepreneurs wait too long. They burn through capital-chasing validation. They interpret minor traction as proof of inevitability. They treat pivots as weakness instead of strategy. But history quietly favors the adaptable. If you're building something right now and sensing friction, declining engagement, confusing feedback, stalled growth, ask yourself honestly, are you facing a temporary obstacle or a structural misalignment? And if you were starting today, knowing what you know now, would you build it the same way? That question might reveal your pivot. If the story resonated with you, remember that adaptation is not surrender. It's intelligence in motion. The strongest businesses aren't the ones that never change. They're the ones that change before they break. If you found value in this episode of Wealth Narrative, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We explore the strategic decisions that shape long-term success, and sometimes the boldest move isn't pushing forward, it's turning at the right time.